we are going to be ranking the top 15 players in the Super Bowl. So I'll get it started right now. My number 15, linebacker for the 49ers. I have Dre Greenlaw at number 15.
I also have Dre Greenlaw at number 15.
I also have Dre Greenlaw at 15.
Probably the only thing we will agree on.
The only thing we agree on, yes.
Number 1.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, number 1
right.
we'll agree on.
You're right. Number 1 we will agree on.
So my number 14, I have cornerback for the Kansas City Chiefs. I have Trent McDuffie. I have Trent McDuffie at number 14. I love Trent McDuffie. I'm sure you know that. Trent McDuffie is one of my guys, but there's just so much talent in this game. I had to throw him at number 14.
I also have Trent McDuffie at number 14.
You know what's funny? I didn't, but I just changed it because he wasn't an All-Pro, right?
Trent McDuffie.
I got to throw that respect in there, and you'll see why next. So I also have McDuffie at 14.
All right, cool. So this is where things might get a little controversial.
I know we won't agree for the full thing.
I know you said you had this guy higher when we were talking about this before we started. So my number 13, I have Deebo Samuel. Listen.
Wow.
Deebo Samuel was great, but my only explanation is just there's so much talent in this game. And listen, it's easy to put Deebo higher, and I'm not going to be mad at you guys for having him higher. But it's easy to put a guy like Deebo higher because he's a wide receiver. He has the ball in his hands. He makes all these cool highlights that some of these guys that I have higher than him, they don't make highlights like that because they're offensive linemen or defensive linemen. So they don't have the highlights like Deebo, but I think their impact to their team, I just think some guys are just more important to their team.
I mean, that's fair. I'm not going to talk about Deebo till I get to Deebo. But my number 13 is the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, and that is Brock Purdy.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to put him higher. I know he's super low on my list. It actually disappoints me a lot. I wanted to put him higher, but the guys ahead of him were either all pros or could be all pros or have been all pros in the past. So a little tough having a quarterback this low, but yeah, number 13, I mean, I still have Brock Purdy, and it's a pretty damn good list to be on still.
Yeah, I don't have either of those guys that low. I have Charvarius Ward here, the all-pro corner for the 49ers. I had McDuffie above him, and then I was like, wait, Ward was an all-pro. What am I doing? So I switched it. But, yeah, this is where I slot in Charvarius Ward.
Wow.
Yeah, I just couldn't – like, I love Deebo, and Deebo is a great player. I just couldn't rationalize putting a guy who had an all-pro season who was, top 2 at his position. I couldn't rationalize putting that guy lower than a guy like Deebo Samuel, who was – I mean, we could argue it, but what was he, like maybe the 10th best receiver this year? Somewhere around there.
But he goes deeper than just being a receiver.
He does so much, though.
That's
I know he does.
He's just a weapon. He's arguably the greatest weapon in the NFL, you could say. Just from being able to line up anywhere.
No, I don't think you could say that.
I mean, he's the best after
maybe most versatile, but
yeah, I could get behind most versatile, but he's not the best.
I don't know about the best weapon.
I don't know, man.
And I might have him higher than both of you, and I don't think
best weapon is in the entire NFL is a crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a running back at the receiver position. That's the craziest part. He can run routes like a receiver.
You think Deebo Samuel is a better weapon than Tyreek Hill?
No, but I'm just saying you could say you could make an argument for Deebo being.
What's the argument for him over Tyreek Hill? Play devil's advocate.
I mean, for me, it's pretty simple. I just think once you get Deebo the ball in his hands, it's literally impossible to tackle the guy. It quite literally is. We see defenses week after week just struggle to tackle the guy. All you got to do is scheme him a touch, and, I mean, look, he turns it into 15, 20 yards, breaking 7 different tackles. So, yeah, I mean, I can line up Deebo wherever, and I can hand him the ball on a handoff, and he's running around like a running back. So, yeah, I mean, look, he's a unit. He's an absolute unit. He's 6'1", and he's like 220 at the receiver position. And Deebo's different, but I have Deebo higher. I have Deebo significantly higher, personally.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 12, this is where I put Mr. George Kittle. George Kittle probably took a little bit of a step back this year. He was still pretty productive, and what makes George Kittle so great, obviously what he could do in terms of being a receiving tight end, but arguably like the best blocking tight end in the NFL. You could make that argument. I wanted to put Kittle a little bit higher, but Like, I'm going to just keep saying there's just so much fun. There's a reason these are the two teams in the Super Bowl. There's so much talent in this game.
At my number 12 spot, I have Brandon Ayuk. I have the other weapon of the San Francisco 49ers. It was tough for me. I have Debo and Kittle above him only because of the fact that obviously Debo can be used as a multifaceted weapon, and George Kittle. What happened?
I'm shocked.
George Kittle, I have him above.
Wait, you have Ayuk here?
I have Ayuk here. Who was an All-Pro. I have Kittle above him only because of the fact that Kittle is probably, the single biggest driving force in terms of like helping out the run game as well. He's an extra offensive lineman out there pretty much, and he's also an elite receiving tight end. So just because of those two reasons, I have these two guys above Brandon Ayuk. So
that's fair. This is where I slotted in Brock Purdy with the Glock 30. 13 at 13.
Fair.
Is this 13?
No, it's just 12.
Oh, fuck.
I have him at 13 at 13.
All right, you have 13 at 13. I have 13 at 12. Listen, man, I think Brock Purdy's great. I've given him some good praise on here, but again, we're going to say this a lot in this segment. There's just so much goddamn talent.
Too much.
And, but Brock, man, like some people would leave him off their top 15 in this. And I think that's crazy.
Yes.
But he shows up when you need him to, and we'll.
So, I mean, I'll spoil it. We're about to be on number 11. I'm not saying Brock Purdy's name for number 11 to 1. Listen, I understand that the quarterback position is probably the most important position in the game, but I did this, in my opinion, just from a pure talent standpoint.
Okay.
And I just think that these other guys are more talented in relation to other players at their position in the league. These are, the rest of my list, honestly, after number 11, going from 10 to 1, you can make an argument that every single one of these guys is the best at their position.
Okay.
And Brock Purdy just, I mean, it doesn't matter. We don't have to go into where he ranks amongst quarterbacks right now, but he's just not that. And that's just my rationale. Like I said, I'm not going to argue with you guys for he's a quarterback and he's so fucking important. Like, I can't argue that
So
fact.
that was going to be my argument. Was it's obviously we're not arguing the most talented, because if it was the most talented, no, he wouldn't be on here. But it is the most important. So
I didn't know I made my list just off.
that's fine. No, that's fine.
talent.
But that's my rationale with it.
So even when you say best players, it also
is it best players? Okay, yeah, that's fine.
It's like the 15 best players in the Super Bowl, but
it's a mix of
have
both.
to include the guy who led the NFL in a bunch of statistical categories too. So, like, I understand that Brock Purdy isn't the most talented guy, but when are we gonna, praise the guy for what he has done?
Brock. I gave Brock Purdy so much praise. I think he's the Niners have their quarterback for the next 10 years. Like,
Him not being top 15 in this game,
I just don't think he's a top 15 player in this game. Are they killing me in the chat?
Brock is not top 15 in this game.
DJ said super team tax on Brock Purdy.
No, Sweezy, I'm not saying Brock's not a top 15 quarterback. He's probably somewhere I think Brock's probably somewhere between like 10 to 12 right now, which is fine. That's a great place to be.
Yeah.
It's a great place to be. And if he wins this fucking game, he's going to shoot up a few spots. Like that.
Yeah.
That's how that goes. Winning the most important games. We see with Jared Goff and how you guys respect Jared Goff. So I can't argue with you. Like I said, I made my list just off pure talent and who are the best players in the
Yeah, that's
the
fair.
game.
Fair enough.
Y'all are backhand complimenting the shit out of him. I'm not backhand complimenting him. I think he's
I
great.
just praised him.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
they
complimenting
have
him
him in the
straight
top
up.
15. I think he's great. He's just, to me, he's just not one of the 15 best players in this game.
I mean, I get your
What's
logic.
crazy, Squeezy?
I get your logic. I do.
What's crazy?
I understand. No, I understand where you're
What
coming
can't
from.
you get behind?
Yeah,
Talk to
I
me,
just-
Squeezy.
I'm in a little bit like I'm doing a little bit
sounds
of both.
like the TikTok comments right now. Oh, now that's crazy. I can't get behind that. I disagree. You guys are wrong. What?
Casual.
What are we wrong
Casual.
about?
It's I understand what your ranking is based off of. Like, I get that. It's just he's been so productive still. He was top 5 at his position this year statistically, and in almost every single category, top 3 or top 2. So it's just, I can't leave him off.
I guess the way I would put it is, if the Niners win this game, do you think that?
You know what? I'm
Well,
gonna
not
change.
14,
You're
never
right.
mind. Yeah.
I'm gonna change my list. I'm gonna put Brock at number 14. I'm gonna move Trent McDuffie down to 15, and I'm gonna bump Dre Greenlaw off.
See ya, Dre.
I'll put him at 14.
That's
That's
fine.
better than
I have
that.
a 13.
Yeah,
I have a
all right.
13.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, you guys
totally
in the
fair.
chat. All
Let's
right.
fucking go.
All right. I changed my mind.
Gallows here, bro.
Gallows in the chat. We got a live chat.
And he
tonight.
agrees with you.
Thank you, Gallo. I love you, Gallo.
Hey, I'm standing on business, bro. Brock is not top 15.
Oh, should I stand on
bro.
business too, bro?
Come on, man.
You just switched it.
Whatever
I
you
could
think
switch-
is,
if I
whatever you
just
think
switch
is
it, I
right.
could
I
switch
mean,
I
it
just
back.
okay.
I
If you don't really believe in Brock,
magic of
then
editing.
don't do it. Then don't do it. But
The
not
only
about believing,
all
like,
the
he
cases
believes
that
in
I
Brock.
just
made.
the only guys I would take out are Trent McDuffie and Dre Greenlaw. Other than that, the other 13 players, there's no chance. There's no
fuck?
chance.
did I have Brock Purdy on my list with Trent McDuffie and Dre Greenlaw?
Yeah, me too.
Oh boy,
I don't know.
Yeah, that should be
this is
interesting.
gonna be bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are missing. All right, but my number
11.
11, I have Brandon Ayuk. So this is where I said I was super shocked at you, because I think if you guys go back to our preseason stuff, I think we actually got into a debate about who's better, Debo or Ayuk. And I was on the Debo side of it. And I know you're one of the biggest Brandon Ayuk guys I
huge
know.
Brandon Ayuk, yeah.
And I'm shocked, especially considering, like you said, Brandon Ayuk was an All-Pro this year.
Yep.
Like
No, he made me look
personally,
good.
I
in
think
terms
there's
of my takes.
I think there's no reason to have Debo above Brandon Ayuk. I do think I think it's pretty crazy, honestly, in my opinion.
See, I don't, because as I said, Debo is the versatile weapon of this offense. Like, look, I'll put it like this. I think personally, obviously losing either one of them hurts, but I think you could more effortlessly, and I don't want to say it like this, but you could lose Brandon Ayuk, have Debo, and you're in a better spot than losing Debo and still having Brandon Ayuk. We saw
yeah,
what
that's
happened.
where I would. That's where I
We
go.
saw
with
what
that.
happened
Yeah.
last week
That's where I
without
go with it.
Debo, and it took that offense a very long time, or against the Packers, to figure things out. Not having that weapon that you could just throw a screen to and having him break it 70 yards and break a few tackles, that changes the entire dynamic for this team.
Hey man, but if Brandon Ayuk don't catch that ball off the helmet,
Agreed. No, I agree. Brandon
True.
Ayuk's a stud, but at the same time, I think this
I don't know, I
offense
just
struggles
think-
more without Debo than it would without Ayuk.
yeah, it's hard.
That's where I go with it. Yeah.
It's a hypothetical though, because
Right.
we did see the offense without Debo this year. We didn't
Right, right.
see the offense without
So
Ayuk this year.
without
They-
Debo, I'm pretty sure they're about 4 points worse.
No, they were
Which is
definitely
crazy.
significant. But also, can we put into account that
Trent Williams had also
some
missed a few games.
some
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
time that
Yeah, no,
Debo
fair.
missed aligned with Trent missing
Fair,
time. So.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, me personally, I just think based on what we saw this season, I can't rationalize putting Debo. ahead
And
of
that's
Ayuk.
fair. I think these, like the 3 weapons of the Niners,
I put them
you're
back to
split-
back. Yeah,
So
I put
did
them back to back to back.
So we might as well honestly just you go and say your last one in terms of.
I said them all already.
Okay, you
I
said all
didn't-
3.
Oh wait.
I'm gonna
I said
say
my number 11.
I'm
I
gonna
didn't
say
my
that
eleven, but go ahead. You said Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and Debo Samuel are back to back to back for me. So I'm going all the way down to 10 in this case too. Apologies for that, but George Kittle is my 11 and Debo Samuel is my number 10. As I said, these guys are splitting hairs. Like
Yeah.
I could have put Debo at 12, Brandon Ayuk at 10, and I would have thought no differently about it because the 3 weapons, they're elite and they're on the same team together. So what order does it really matter in the end?
Let us
they're all
know in the
ballers,
chat what
so.
you guys think. Debo or Ayuk?
So you guys had Ayuk then Debo?
I had Ayuk, Kittle, Debo.
And you
so
had-
12, 11, 10.
I had Debo, Kittle, Ayuk.
So you both just rattled off 12, 11, and 10? Okay.
I didn't say my
You didn't
10.
say
I
10.
got
Oh,
my
okay.
11.
All right. So 11 this is where I put George Kittle.
Okay.
Same. Yep.
Yeah, for all the reasons you guys pretty much said.
Yeah.
I don't think he's, if you want to call him the best weapon, the receiving option on the team. I don't even know if he's that because of the other guy in the backfield. But
He's such an elite blocker.
yeah, exactly. He's such a great blocker. He cannot catch a pass and still like do a lot to impact the game.
Yes.
And if he does catch a few passes, like Brock looks for him towards the end of the game. That he literally could be the reason they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
if it's a
any
close
of
game.
these guys can
Exactly
be,
right. Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Oh,
Agreed.
Squeezy says he doesn't know if I would have Kittle that low, if I'm honest. I don't know. I just feel like Kittle did take I don't know if I want to say pretty significant, but a good step back in terms of his...
He's not prime George
in terms
Kittle.
of his pass catching work. Obviously, we know what he brings in terms of being a blocker, but he definitely took a little bit of a step back in terms of production through the air.
Yeah.
My number
Still
10,
No
I have
hate,
a guy
though.
who... He's a fan favorite, man. He's been a stud since he got into the league. And this is where I say any of these guys can be considered the best at their position from this point on. I have Creed Humphrey here at number 10.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, I sold.
Yeah,
There it
I
is.
mean, he's arguably been the best center in the NFL since he got into the league. He's just elite. Run
Yep.
blocking, pass blocking. He's
Yeah.
been spectacular. So I have Creed Humphrey at my
So
number
funny
10.
because I thought of Trey Smith and didn't think of Creed Humphrey.
I did the
I'm
exact same
disappointed.
thing. Yeah.
I'm so disappointed in myself. But I already said my 10. So
My sister just texted me. I don't know how to put it in the chat, but I don't like Debo.
Anyway, moving on. Fuck
your 10?
Debo. My 10 is this is where I put L'Jarius Sneed, all pro corner. You guys have him higher than me, which is fine. Yeah, I don't think there's much to say. Like you said, he's an all pro corner. He's probably gonna get Ayuk. He's probably gonna get Ayuk most of the game, if I'm not wrong.
I would.
And Ayuk is gonna have his work cut out for him. And yeah, he made the big play last week for the Kansas City Chiefs that made a big difference in that game. And yeah, L'Jarius Sneed. That's where I have him.
So I'm gonna say I want to revise my list real quick because I do want to put Creed Humphrey in there.
That's fair.
Um,
Allow it.
I'm gonna put him at 14, right behind Brock Purdy, and I'm knocking Dre Greenlaw, Dre Greenlaw off the list, and Trent McDuffie down to 15. But Creed Humphrey is probably the best center in the NFL. It just so happens that
See, like, do you see my I'm not
I get what
arguing
you're
with you,
saying.
but do you see my point? I have a hard time putting the best center in the NFL behind the
10th best
the
quarterback.
10th
at
best
best, yeah.
quarterback. You know,
So I also
That's
like
fine.
I know quarterback is more important,
Yes.
but when I'm ranking just based on a talent perspective, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm also, for me, I guess it's just in my head. I just have positional value.
Yeah, I
Factored in.
can't
Yeah.
argue that a quarterback is way more important than the dude
Yeah,
who
yeah,
snaps
yeah.
the ball. Like, I can't argue with that, but
But yeah, I mean, look, Creed Humphrey is probably the best center in the NFL, as I said. And if it's not him, it's Frank Ragnow. But yeah, I struggle putting a center into my top 10, just unfortunately, just because of positional value and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd have Creed Humphrey on my list no matter what. So that
Ain't
was
changing shit. Not because I
definitely
should.
an L on
I'm
my
just not
part.
going to.
definitely an L on my part. So
Yeah,
who's
so
your number 9, Chris?
my number 9, I have Charvarius Ward here. He's all pro corner, like we said. What I love about Charvarius Ward, and I mean this entire Niners defense, but he might be like not the leader, but I feel like it kind of starts with him and those guys in the secondary. Just the aggressiveness and physicality that he plays with. You know, he's not your typical I'm gonna lock you down, great coverage. He is good in coverage, but I feel like what makes Charvarius Ward so great is just the physicality he plays with at the line. So I have him at my number 9.
So I went back and forth between he and another guy. I'm going to put Charvarius Ward at number 9 as well. I agree with you for all the reasons that you just said. So
I have. This is where I put Brandon Ayuk. We talked a lot about him. I don't really have to say much.
who's your 8?
My number 8, you guys might disagree with this one. I think you guys might have him a little bit higher. Looking at my list, maybe I should have him a little bit higher too. I have Nick Bosa at number 8.
Wow.
That's very, very, very low.
It is.
The sack numbers weren't there this season, so I could give you that. But at the same time, he's still a game wrecker.
Yeah, and I have my 6 through 8 is all 49ers defenders, so like you could kind of place these guys in whatever order you want to place them, but not actually. My 7 through 9, not my 6 through 8. Sorry, but you could place these guys however you want to place them. I just think the guy who I'm going to say at 7, I just think he's more important to the defense, and I'll explain why when I get to him. But
my number 8 is L'Jarius Sneed. He and Ward I was going back and forth with, but Sneed was an All-Pro this year as well, I believe. And he's honestly a prototypical lockdown corner. I would trust throwing Snead on just about anyone in the league and leaving him on an island and living with the results. So I think last week he gave up his first touchdown of the season, I think it was, or something like that. But yeah, he's been elite all season. He's unbelievable, and for that reason, I have him at number 8.
So this is where I put Deebo Samuel. Again, talked about him a lot, but my reasoning for putting him over Ayuk is just because of the versatility. Ayuk could obviously go out and have a huge game himself. And who's actually better as a wide receiver? Again, I just think Deebo can do more, but Ayuk, in terms of if I got to throw the ball to somebody in a one-on-one matchup, I'm definitely going with Ayuk. And Ayuk's probably, if he's not the second best, he's top 5 in terms of yak. So, but yeah, I just go with Deebo Samuel. I lean more towards the Swiss Army knife style of Deebo.
Okay. Number 7, Chris.
So my number 7, this is where I put Fred Warner. And this is what I mean in terms of just the importance to the defense. I'm a guy, I know in terms of positional value in the NFL and amongst GMs and scouts and all that, edge rusher is more important than an off-the-ball linebacker. I'm a sucker for off-the-ball linebackers. Played Madden growing up. The user was always the most important part of playing Madden. So I always have a soft spot for off-the-ball linebackers. And Fred Warner is probably the best in the league, honestly. I mean, you can make an argument for Roquan, but me personally, I don't really feel like there's much of an argument for what Fred Warner's been able to do these past couple of years. I know he hasn't been the best this year. Probably in comparison to last year, he's probably taken a little bit of a step back, but I just think his impact in terms of being the captain of this defense, as you guys know, the Mike linebacker's responsibilities are way deeper than just going out there and playing football. You're pretty much the quarterback of the defense, and I think that is just so important to a defense. And I personally believe that this defense falls apart without Fred Warner. That's how important and how talented he is. The way he's able to cover the field sideline to sideline, it's really not normal.
For all the I completely agree with the Fred Warner take. For me, I just think having that edge rusher, that singular game-wrecking edge rusher, just matters a little bit more in the end. At number 7, I do have Fred Warner.
So I would agree with you, but Fred Warner's such a different specimen
He's so
that
good.
He's a game wrecker of himself. Normally middle linebackers aren't like they're not like him. They don't make them.
They're not.
Like, yes, I completely agree the way Nick Bosa could wreck a game, but Fred Warner could do the same thing in a different way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I have them back to back. I'm not fucking mad at it.
Right. I also have Fred Warner here, actually, for all the reasons you guys said. Tackling machine and the way he reads a play and reads the offense. Like, I don't know if you saw that clip of him last week when he just literally bolted into the backfield and tackled, I think it was Gibbs.
Bro, he's unreal.
For a loss. And yeah, it's insane. And he's anything you could possibly want in a middle linebacker.
Great cover guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's
nothing he can't do. One of the best tacklers in the NFL. Like, nothing he
phenomenal,
can't do.
bro.
Nothing he isn't great at.
Yeah. So my number 6, probably a little bit controversial. You guys are probably going to shit on me. I have L'Jarius Sneed at number 6. As you guys know, I'm a sucker for the Chiefs defense. I talk about them every chance I get.
Snead a lot too,
I've been saying for weeks that this is the best defense in the NFL. And there's an argument that this has been the best defensive player on this defense this year. We're going to talk about a guy that we haven't named yet that we all have a little bit higher, but there's a good argument that L'Jarius Sneed had a better season than him. He can make the case that he was the best cornerback in football this year. I'd probably take Jalen Johnson over him this year, but I'd put him in at number 2. I think he had a better season than Sauce. I think he had a better season than Pat Surtain. We just saw it last week, man. Even not in coverage, just putting your life on the line, man. Diving for a ball at the 1-yard line. That's the type of dude I want on my team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Losing a fumble at the 1-yard line, saving a touchdown. That's the type of guy I want on my team. So
that's something that doesn't get spoken about enough for this Chiefs defense, too. Their corners are willing tacklers.
Physical. They're
very willing
these defenses. They're not just great defenses, but they are physical, man, including the guys in the secondary.
Yeah. So for me, the guy that you just mentioned, actually, at number 6, I have Chris Jones. This might be a little bit low for Chris Jones, but the 5 guys above him, it's difficult to say anything else. So, yeah, I mean, look, from here till number 2, you could probably put him in any order that you so choose, and I wouldn't bat an eye, to be honest. But, yeah, Chris Jones is a game wrecker from the interior. And, yeah, I mean, you could argue sometimes that interior pressure is more important than the edge pressure. So, yeah, I'm taking Chris Jones at number 6.
I also have Chris Jones at number 6 for everything you said. That last part you said about interior pressure, when it's Chris Jones on the interior, you have to pay a lot more attention to it, because it's not like they have one of the best offensive linemen in the league and of all time, but they ain't line him up against Chris Jones, so they got a script for him some other way, and he is, by every meaning of the word, he's a game wrecker.
Yeah.
So
Chris Jones, it's kind of similar to what I said about Fred Warner. That positional value shit goes out the window
Right.
when you have a guy that talented.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my number 5 it feels low for him, honestly, but he had a down year this year. Let's be real. Probably the worst year we've seen from him in I don't know, since probably like his rookie year, honestly. He went off last game though, but I have Taylor Swift's boyfriend at number 5. Travis Kelce, number 87. I don't really need to explain.
Can't be
You
mad.
guys
Yeah,
know
can't be
Travis
mad at it.
Kelce
Yes.
is.
Yeah, so I'm actually with you on that. I have Travis Kelce at number 5 too. The 4 players ahead of him are just arguably, just as good, if not better, at their own position, which is crazy to say.
Man, I really underrated Nick Bosa.
Yeah, I couldn't put Bosa that low. That was tough. But yeah, I have Travis Kelce at number 5. But look, the mind meld that he has with Patrick Mahomes can put him at number 2 at any given moment. in this game. So he's just that damn good.
Yeah, so I might as well just say my next 2. I have Trent Williams, and then I have Travis Kelce, just because, like you said, Kelce did have a down year, that's for sure. But the fact that he just flipped the switch in the playoffs, that just means a little bit more to me. And the relationship with Mahomes, where you're not going to have to worry about Travis Kelce, and not saying you're not going to have to worry about Trent Williams, because he neutralizes edge rushers like it's nothing. So it's really tough. This 1 through 5, man, this shit is rough. Like it's 2 through 5 got to be like interchangeable for the most part.
Yeah.
So, but my reasoning is just this guy's won 2 Super Bowls, and he was an integral part of both of them.
So you did 4, right?
Yeah,
5 and
Trent
4.
at 5, Kelce at 4.
So my number 4, this is where I put Chris Jones for all the reasons we just said. I don't have to really elaborate on that.
At my number 4, I put Nick Bosa for all the reasons we said before. Yeah, that's that.
All right, so my number 3, I was torn, man. This 2 and 3, this was the hardest part of my list. I made my list while I was at work today. I did 1 to 10. And I stared at this for like 5 minutes before I wrote it down in my notes. I was really, really thinking about it. I put Trent Williams at number 3. I'm not mad if you wanted to put him at number 2. He's been dominant, as dominant as they could come at the left tackle position. So
I also have Trent Williams at number 3. It's tough because it's so valuable to have a guy protecting a blind side of a quarterback and not have to worry or send chips or send a double or have a tight end stay next to him to try to block a guy. Doesn't matter who lines up across from him. You're trusting Trent Williams in a one-on-one no matter what. And that is incredibly valuable, but it's just tough to put him above the number 2 guy.
Yeah. So what is this, 3? This is where I put Nick Bosa. Everything we said before. The guy's a game wrecker, can flip it on, be the best edge rusher, and apply egregious amounts of pressure at any time. He can stop the run. He can get to the quarterback, and he's going to have to do all that. And I definitely trust him to get that done. Nick Bosa's a monster, and yeah.
So my number 2, this is where I put Christian McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey? Yeah, Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
Listen, man, I wish we had a podcast like the summer before we started the podcast, because there were nasty conversations about my brother Christian McCaffrey. He's injury prone. He's not that good. He only gets targeted because the Panthers are always losing. Blah, 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 blah. He shouldn't be the first pick in fantasy. This, that, and the next. My brother Christian McCaffrey just stayed the course, did his job, got traded to a contender, and his production only in somehow, some way, he improved his production once he got to the 49ers, and he's been the best running back in football for some time now. I know some people wanted to get cute and have Jonathan Taylor. Some people said Austin Eckler for a
That's
brief
fucking
period in
wild.
time.
Yeesh.
Some people said the King, Derrick Henry, which that one I could get behind. That one was a little bit of an argument. But he has been the best running back in football for probably like the past 5 years, if I'm being
I mean,
completely honest.
Nick Chubb was right there, in my personal opinion.
It was a never a conversation for me.
Fair.
In
Never
terms
a
of running the
conversation.
football, sure he's.
I
there,
mean,
but
yeah, he's.
in terms of the position,
I
don't
would-
know. I don't think it's.
I would say, yeah, McCaff is better, but I think Nick
That's
Chubb was
fine.
right there.
That's fine.
But- But yeah, nah, there were some conversations for sure. He had a stretch where he was a little injury prone. We could
yeah.
call a spade a spade. He had a little stretch where he was a little
Doesn't
injury
matter.
prone.
I hate the fucking term injury prone. I don't think getting hurt, unfortunately, makes you
On multiple
prone
different
to
occasions?
injury. I think it's just
There are guys that are definitely
there
prone
are guys
to
who are
injury.
prone to injury, like Greg Oden. Greg Oden was fucking injury prone. He was prone to injury because of his size, because of all that shit, because of the previous injuries. Christian McCaffrey's injuries, like, they didn't correlate with each other. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like he was getting injured because he got injured the first time. Like, they weren't correlated. I just think it was just
Also, I think if you had anyone do the work that Christian McCaffrey has to do, they're gonna get beat up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nah,
no,
the
for sure.
number
shot.
of touches that he had to, handle and stuff like that, the workload that he had to
Yeah.
handle, ridiculous.
Like a guy like Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is injury prone. He is prone to injury because of his injury history. Because he had
Gruesome
serious,
Towards ACL in
he had
college.
serious
Yeah.
injuries.
Yeah.
He had career-threatening injuries. Christian McCaffrey, yeah, he missed some time with injuries those seasons, but those weren't significant injuries that were going to linger
fair.
on and on. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Yeah.
Is
He's the number 2.
Like
clear
DJ
cut.
asks, is Embiid injury prone? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
1,000%.
Absolutely, Embiid's injury prone.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I mean, I guess I'll say it. At number 1, what a surprise. Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes at the top of a ranking.
What
a shock.
a surprise.
I mean, we didn't really talk about him all that much last week, but I think.
Yeah, no, it's not like we had a whole,
we didn't have
he
a
might be the
whole
greatest of all
20-minute
time.
clip out about it.
Yeah, go check that out.
Facts.
That was a good
Great
one of the better conversations
conversation,
we've had.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
And I'm sure if he wins this game, we're gonna have the exact same
Hell,
conversation again
again,
next
yes,
week.
we
Yep.
will. But,
so, I mean, Pat Mahomes is number 1 in this game, and
he's number 1 in every game. I mean,
single-handedly win this game for the Kansas City Chiefs. So
Yeah.
it's just that simple.